you think King David defied God? In 2 Samuel 24, the Bible tells a story where David, against God's will, decided to conduct a census to count the people of Israel. God had instructed David not to carry out this census, but David ignored the warning. The next morning, God sent the prophet Gad with a difficult choice: 3 years of famine, 3 months fleeing from enemies, or 3 days of a deadly plague. It was a cruel decision, and none of the options seemed favorable. David realized his actions had brought terrible consequences upon the people. Not knowing what to choose, he asked God to decide, trusting that divine mercy would be greater than any human punishment. So, God sent the angel of death. In just 3 days, 70,000 people lost their lives because of David's disobedience. This story reminds us that disobeying God's commands can bring serious consequences. Do you enjoy biblical stories? Share this with more people.
I always find it interesting how Christians like to say that this God is good. This God is good all the time. This God is just all the time. But then when you read stories about this King David, for instance, not even the story of David and Bathsheba, where a baby is punished, a baby must be punished for David's crimes. This woman must live under the roof of a man who murdered her husband, that she is being punished for David's crime against this God. But in this instance, what we're looking at is the people, 70,000 people, 50,000 people, one of those two numbers, I can't remember exactly which one is correct, died because this dude went against a command of God to do a census of the people that was an unauthorized census. So how do you find justice in a God who don't punish the person who commits the sin, but then punishes the people who had nothing to do with the sin itself, which is anything that goes against this guy's commands or this guy's rules or this guy's emotional state? How can you claim this to be a just God? It's in the same instance as Christians will get on the airways and they will say that, well, God killed the Canaanites because the Canaanites didn't worship him. They were worshiping false gods. They was doing children sacrifices. They was doing all those things. So they had to be genocided. And so a Christian will justify the genociding of other groups of people because they were going against this God. When it was when the Israelite men were having sex with the Moabite women, getting that Moabite pom pom, did God kill all the Israelites for that? No. He only killed the ones who were participating in acts against him. So the Israelite men got the Moabite pom pom in Exodus. Then they started worshiping the Moabite gods. This worshiping of other gods is a crime punishable by genocide, as far as any Christian would say, when it's in concern with why the people of Jericho had to be genocided, why the people of Ai had to be genocided, why the Ammonites had to be genocided. But when it comes to their own people, the heroes of the story, this God simply will punish those ones, just the ones, not the entirety of the people, not genocide the whole people. So they'll justify the genocides of other people, but show the supremacy and the ethnocentrism, which we today would call racism, of this God. And then when it is something within the story and it involves somebody important, though, this is why there's no balance in this God's judgment. It's kind of like how there's no balance in the judgment of a crime that's committed in Florida, the same crime committed in Texas. Judges give difference of opinion, but these are two different people. But when we look at this God, which is supposed to be one God, when it comes to somebody of royalty, oh, we're not going to punish David. We're going to punish the people. We're not going to punish Saul. We're going to punish the people. When it comes to a king, we're going to punish the people and not punish the actual person that committed the offense. This is not a just God. In no way, shape, or form does this God demonstrate that he is justice. And what else does this create in this type of situation? This creates a belief in people that causes them to fight against governments for reasons that should not be fought over. You may ask, what am I talking about? So because 57,000 people died because David tried to do a census, One of the reasons, and there's multiple reasons, but one of the main reasons why the the people of Judea, revolted against Rome was because Rome tried to do a census. And so when Rome was conducting the census, whether it was the 6 BCE census done by Quirinius, whether it was other census done by Caesar Augustus or any other Caesar, the Jewish people would revolt. And these revolts caused damage and wars, and Roman armies came in and people died because they didn't want to be counted because of what happened with the story of David. But then Jesus tells them that whatever the government says, that you should follow the government laws. So stop revolting against Caesar when Caesar want to count you. So if you believe that Jesus is God, then it demonstrates that this God is not singular in his judgments nor singular in his thoughts. But it creates that situation where revolts happen. Children die, people die, women die, innocents die because the Jews kept revolting. Then here comes Jesus and he's saying that no, just obey the government, because whatever government was appointed over you is the government that God desired for you. Actually, that part is Paul. And in that sense, then you should not revolt against a census. You should not adhere to what this God said about, hey, if a census is being conducted, that's not right. God doesn't want that. So Paul is saying that no, fuck that. We're gonna just go ahead and abide by it. Jesus is basically saying, fuck that. We're going to abide by it. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar. He was talking about taxation, but the purpose of the census done by Rome was to account for taxation. So when we look at the census done by Quirinius in 6 CE, I said BCE earlier, but in 6 CE, then it was done in order to account for what taxation would happen in Judea after Herod Archelaus was disposed of. And Herod Archelaus was the son of Herod the Great. So Herod Archelaus is being disposed of. Governor Quirinius comes down from Syria to conduct this census. The Israelites, the Jewish people the Hebrews would have revolted against that. They would have found anger in that. But Jesus is saying, nope, no, no. Even though he was supposed to have been a baby, been born at that time frame, later on, the Jesus character is indicating that they should have never revolted because of that. Should have never revolted. And if you understand history, the revolts that occurred during that time frame of 6 CE and then later revolts, that is what caused Vespasian to come in and him and his son Titus to conquer Judea because of their continuous revolting. The other reason they revolted is because the Roman government would impose that you have to give honor to Caesar, put a statue of Caesar in your temples, and worship Caesar on one given day throughout the year. Of course, in the Hebrew culture, you cannot build idols, and you certainly don't worship another idol, another god. So they would revolt. But Rome even went as far as saying, okay, we will allow you to not have to do this if you pay a temple tax. And the temple tax was so that they didn't have to participate in that situation. But it still caused revolts within the system as they were looking for their Messiah who would take over and sit on the throne of David. But at the end of the day, if anyone who was sitting on the throne of David, if I was a Hebrew, I would be scary of that. Because if that king ever does something that is against this God's will, this God is not going to punish that king. He's going to punish the people for what the king did. Make it make sense, people, because it doesn't. It doesn't. It is just things that man creates for himself to try to justify his actions or to understand nature. So, what do you guys think? Like, share the video, comment, and always remember you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.